Today we're outside the beautiful town of Lamington to visit an exquisite garden with a very special view. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Meet you.
Such a pleasure to meet you. And what a beautiful day it is as well.
Perfect.
I'm going to jump straight to it because there is so much to see here. It's beautiful. And we've immediately got a huge sweeping board right here. Let's kick things off with here, I think. And I'm looking at this Veronicastrum right there, and I'm seeing the Eringian looking stunning. Would you like to talk to us about this border and what you're doing with it?
I just want something to soften the building because they're quite harsh in the landscape, and so I went for a softer colour palette. And I know the blue kind of pops, but the house just needed a little bit of a
that softened tone. So kind of we're going with that cottage feel as well. And I can see already there's a lot of structure in the space as well. And can you talk to us about the structure? Is that something that you're a fan of in planting? Is that something you incorporate?
Yeah, I very much. I like to make sure that when I'm planting, I'm not only thinking about the colours. I like to have different leaf patterns and structures, just to give a whole different texture to a border rather than it all being just green.
Yeah, so
some odd
it's
bits
fully
of colour
diverse. Yeah, so it's not just flower heads, but you're really taking into account foliage and things like that. So then foliage colour, which I suppose really rings true to even because it comes to quite a narrow space here, but still it's really full of interest. And I quite like that. It has a real flow to it, and then it really kind of bustles out at the end here, which is fantastic.
That was a necessity because there's a drainage.
Section
there, so
well, there you go.
So it had to come in, so it gets its curvaceous lines because of that. Yeah,
and well, then you have that that billowing away from the building, so it does really flow with that. You've got the geranium Rosanne there as well, and that will just keep coming forward, won't it?
Yeah.
So what would be a narrow border will eventually just be unseen because the planting will take care of the rest, won't it?
I hope so. That's the plan. I have a little bit of stackies in there, which I think works well because it's quite shallow, the bed by the edge, so I need tough plants to sit in there. Yeah. So I was going to work some more stackies through it, and also a little bit more sedum. I think I'm starting to be happy with the balance. So the rows haven't deadheaded because the weather's been so awful. So it's looking, that smells glorious. Yeah. And then there's another piece of trellis to go up.
Beautiful.
It's actually, this is the first year it's actually climbed.
Oh, good. So it's hitting its stride.
It is. That's its third season.
Oh, good. So talking of hitting its stride, I can see that the natural line of the garden wants to come all the way through to here. So I think it'd be really nice to go and take a look through there. Oh, the bees are having a fun day today.
It's not raining.
This is a fantastic space for habitat and wildlife. What a beautiful pond, and it looks so established and mature. When did this happen? Was there something that was already here when you moved in, or is it something that you have done?
My husband and son-in-law dug it in the February of 2021 because they were with us for lockdown. So it's
a good lockdown job done.
It was, yeah.
I'm sure all the wildlife and habitat are thanking you profusely. And did you plant it all up straight away? Did you add to it over time? Was it kind of something that you took your time with, that you're patient, or did you want to kind of get it up? So getting it up and ready as soon as possible.
The water plants, they went in practically straight away, and the planting around it has spread over the past few years. Some of it naturally, and some of it I've added stuff to.
Yeah, and it sits as a real feature in this area. But as I look forward here, I'm seeing some very beautiful birch trees. And really establishing. And you have 1, 2, 3, is it 6?
Six, yeah.
Great. And think having a look that we have Snow Queen with this beautiful white bark. What's the ambition for this area when these really start to put on all their growth?
For it to be more of a shady garden, I want to underplant with ferns. There's ferns underneath the beech there already.
Yes,
and also dogwood. And this is midwinter fire. Actually, it's probably a little bit too tender for here.
Okay.
But obviously the bog standard red is loving it. So just would like the red branches with the white for winter colour, really.
Yeah, that would be a real strong defining area. So once this all goes up, and so you essentially have that shade border, but packed with colour and packed with interest. Again, speaking about that foliage and looking at all the different textures and structures, this will really have that. With the kind of the trunks, I'm seeing a little doorway here. So I think we should go and have a little look and see what's happening there.
Yep, it's a bit overgrown at the moment, but we'll have a haircut once the birds are out of the hedge.
Wow. So I'm just going to step over here. So continuing with the provision for wildlife.
The lazy garden. Yep.
With this space, is this something that's going to happen year on year? Do you want to let it grow up like this and really provide for wildlife, or is it something that you're going to shape a bit more?
Maybe a tiny bit. Maybe we'll tinker around the edges. There is a lot of perennial wildflowers in here. There's quite a few patches of cowslips for the spring.
Yeah, I spotted the little sanguisulba over there as well. It's a little pop of colour.
We tried yellow rattle to just get the grass under control a little bit. It took the first year and then didn't come back, even though we thought we'd cut at the right time, left it on the ground long enough. But I think we're going to have a go with that again this winter, just to try and get the balance between flowers and grasses a little bit more even.
I think that from here it'd be really nice to go and have a look at your kitchen garden.
Oh, I guess. Yeah.
Through the gateway.
These were amazing this year. So many currants.
Already, I love the geometry of this space. I'm a real big fan of the geometry, and we're seeing lots of raised beds.
The raised beds were made with the boards from the old deck that we had to take out.
Okay, so recycling.
Yeah, reusing it all. Again, Pinterest and gardener's world, and I like structure.
Yes.
As well as being quite.
Yeah, but with an undertone of a different definition.
A kitchen garden needs some structure, otherwise it's quite easy to make a mess out of where you're putting it. And also it's a lot easier to keep track of where I've planted what, because I don't use any chemicals. I need to be mindful of my crop rotation.
Yes, okay.
So each of the beds are numbered on my scrappy piece of paper in the greenhouse, and then I'm...
Okay, so that's a real proper planning.
Yes.
Yeah, and that way you understand what's been where and then what you need to do, so you know the history in order to plan its future, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take a little walk through over here. So we've got several beds. And going through here. Another lovely seating area, which is grand. And we have your greenhouse as well. Rhubarb, raspberries. As we were walking in towards here, I did spy a profusion of beautiful perennial borders. Is it okay for us to go and have a little peek?
Yeah.
Good.
That's my my folly.
Oh, I love these heads here on the Lucifer.
A Lucifer, yeah.
I spy a bag of Caledonian Horticulture. Yeah. What is it that you use the Caledonian Horticulture product for?
The green goodness has top dressed the flowers,
Okay.
and also the vegetable gardens. And then when the vegetable gardens started going in, there was an awful lot of green goodness and kelpie dug in
Okay.
to what soil we had.
Yeah. So the kelpie gives a real kind of like rich feed.
Yeah.
And the green goodness, so is that to help feed the soil but also condition it and just give it a real kind of health kick?
Yeah, and then next year I think there'll be some more kelpie go on top of the vegetables, but this is grand in here. And then we tried is it plant mix?
Yeah, the planter mix.
Planter mix, yeah. And we top dressed in that as well.
Yeah.
I think we just like to see
how it went.
Experiment. We'll just experiment. So, and the peas are doing well. The second plantings are doing well. So I think it's the weather that I've had problems with this year rather than the condition of the soil. Because the plants are obviously, the flowers are happy.
Yeah, they've all come up. They've been fed enough. They have the luscious growth. They've been able to produce the flower heads.
Yeah.
So soil's doing really well.
I had an enormous crop of radish, and everything's coming up again. So, yeah, it's nice, and I like the fact that I need a lot, so I don't have to buy plastic bags.
Yes, you can just get the bulk bag in, and then it can be sent back.
And then it's a workout as well.
Yeah,
it
certainly is. And we're in a kind of an area that's yet to be developed, I suppose.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, speaking of landscape, I'm seeing 2 very inviting chairs there. It'd be really nice for us to maybe go sit down and then have a chat about this fantastic area of perennial planting. I think I could stay here forever. It's a beautiful day, but also I've got this, not just one view, but 2 fantastic views. We've got the full landscape behind us here, but in front I'm looking through a real maze of beautiful perennial planting. Could you talk to us about how this kind of came to be?
This is our part of the garden for us to just enjoy sitting out. And I wanted it to be able to flow into the background rather than the garden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cut it off. But we also need to be mindful of the fact that this is quite an exposed space, so we have to have the boundaries between it. And the actual planting inspiration is from Pete Udall, who I just love his gardens and his books, and this is my poor interpretation of his work.
I can really see that inspiration there, and that we have the idea of like sweeping borders, but in order to have these sweeping borders, we've got sweeping paths, and that you've got the repetition of the different plants. Just as we're sitting here, I can see the Veronicastrum and the Echinops, and we've got the Crocosmia Lucifer really giving that defining kind of colour to the whole palette. And so speaking of the paths, there's 2 things I kind of really want to pick up on here is looking at your paths, the bottled lime paths. You could talk to us about that. And then afterwards, just the colour palettes you've decided to use in different zones of the borders in this area.
So the path is purely lifted from Pinterest. Saw them on Pinterest. Had a relatively easy supply of bottles and a very understanding husband. And the paths are to cut down on the grass, really. It's to future proof it for us, so we've not got lots of mowing to do.
Yeah.
So that was the choice of the material. And the colour palette kind of happens. I like to keep the beds with a theme. I think they're big enough to have a theme. They're quite close together to change it quite the way I have, but there are no rules in gardening in my mind. So this area outside the main window is what we just refer to as the hotbed. So just with the more punchy colours.
Yeah, there's a real vibrancy to them, kind of with the Bistota as well.
Yeah.
Like, these really like rich tapestry colours and strong defining foliage as well.
I like the Helenium, like that's a real, I'd have more of that, but it wasn't very happy. I tried it further back in the bed, it didn't like it there. It's quite happy there, so I just think I'll just have to be happy with one patch of it. And then I just wanted a slightly calmer colour palette for the other bed. And the in front of the beech hedge here is going to be a little bit more muted as well, with just pinks and blues and a little bit of lime from the, oh my word.
From the Alchemilla
Yes,
mollis.
thank you.
Yeah, it's such a good one for lining pests as well.
Yeah.
And I can see, even as I'm standing here, I can see it's kind of dotted.
Yeah.
And again, I'm really seeing that fabulous inspiration from Pete. And it is a real sense of journey going through this space in particular. You've got numerous seating spaces as well. And what I love about that is that you can sit down and almost see, you literally see different views. There's different tapestries, different ways of looking at the garden. And I think that is really true to what you've done. As you do, like over there, you have like the more muted palette, but we still have some of the repetition going through. So it doesn't feel like a juxtaposition of two different gardens. We have two different palettes, and we have, which has that definition, but there is that very literal sense of continuity and difference there, which I absolutely love. It's a real, like I had said, that gardening has no rules, which I really love. But I think we'd have to stay true to your talent as a gardener of saying that this has happened because of you. You've put that together in your vision. So it's a real, I could just sit here. I think I will. I'm going to sit here all day and enjoy the view.
Thank you very much.
Today was another excellent example of how we can develop our gardens into rooms and zones, having an area that is ready for the environment and really catering for wildlife and habitat. Having a space like this that is just a plethora of colour and texture. And then nestled in between all these spaces are little pockets of seating areas where you can really sit back and enjoy the garden, but also enjoy the view.